Welcome to Asian Star Trend. Our channel updates hot news about Asia's most popular stars. Please subscribe and comment to help us update better videos. The tear that moved a nation, Yu Long and Yang Mie Mie's quiet love story in an industry built on spectacle, where relationships often burn bright and collapse just as fast. There exists a rare kind of connection, one that whispers rather than shouts. Yu Long and Yang Mie Mie have never needed fanfare. There are no grand declarations, no carefully staged photos. Instead, their bond lives in the small things: a hand steadying another in a crowded room, a glance across the stage that says more than 1,000 words, and a letter simple, trembling that once made an entire nation pause. It was at a late-night shoot, under harsh lights, when Yu Long received that letter. Witnesses recall his tears falling silently, while Yang Mie Mie stood beside him, neither speaking nor performing for the cameras. For a moment, the noise of the industry faded. What remained was something startling in its purity, one human heart reaching another. Fans say that is the power of their story. It is not about perfect images but about endurance in an age that forgets so easily. People leave their dramas not just entertained, but unexpectedly reflective, reminded of the value of patience, loyalty, and choosing presence over publicity. Perhaps that is why this quiet love resonates so deeply. In a world obsessed with speed, they show that some things, real things, are built in silence. And as their journey continues, audiences watch not for scandal, but for those rare, unspoken moments that remind us all why we still believe in love. One quiet afternoon in Japan, Yu Long unfolded an unassuming envelope, a letter sent by an ordinary fan. He expected polite words of support. Instead, as his eyes moved across the page, something within him cracked open. There, on the pavement, in full view of strangers, he cried. This was not a performance. No cameras framed the moment, no script guided his reaction. It was raw, unedited life, a man undone by the weight of someone else's honesty. The handwriting was uneven, part careful, part innocent, but the words were steady. Your presence is our warmest belief. Please be well and happy. You make me believe that true love really exists in a world accustomed to noise and spectacle. That simple message cut through everything. And for those who witnessed it, the image of Yu Long, silent, shaken, human, has become one of the rarest scenes in modern entertainment. Truth. Yu Long's eyes turned red. He said nothing. That tear was not weakness, it was an answer. And beside him, Yang Mie Mie didn't panic. She didn't fuss. She simply walked up to him, wiped his tears with her fingertips, and smiled. That quiet gesture was more powerful than any declaration. This was not a performance, it was a glimpse of real love. Two people who can find each other in a crowd, who are each other's light, and whose love is now guarded gently by thousands of fans in an industry obsessed with traffic and spectacle, where couples create buzz through marketing. Yu Long and Yang Mie Mie do the opposite. None of their photos trend for 3 days straight. They never join variety shows to showcase their romance. Their sweetness lives in the small details: the way she adjusts his coat before a winter shoot, the way he instinctively shields her from a sudden downpour, the way their eyes lock for a fraction of a second during a crowded press event. To those watching closely, these fragments add up to something rare. It is a love story without a script, a reminder that intimacy can exist without an audience, and perhaps that is why it resonates so deeply. When fans speak of them, they rarely talk about scandals or gossip. They talk about hope. About how, in a world where so much feels manufactured, the simple sight of a man crying over a fan's letter, and a woman quietly wiping away his tears, makes them believe again. This, after all, is what endures: a love strong enough to whisper Mie Mie bringing him food during breaks on set. Yu Long shielding her waist in a crowded airport. A brief, unspoken moment backstage when their fingers find each other and refuse to let go. Fans have learned to treasure these details. They appear like passing flashes, but for those who notice, they carry weight. At that moment, one fan wrote after witnessing the tearful scene in Japan, "I didn't see a star crying. I saw a man crying because of feelings he truly protects." It is this quiet current beneath the surface that makes their story different. When Yu Long cried, it wasn't about cameras or careers. It was about Yang Mie Mie. About the fans who have believed in them quietly. about the rare love he has chosen to guard, rather than display that letter. The one written in uneven handwriting, mailed from a stranger halfway across the world, was meant for him. But in the end, it belonged to all of us, because as his tears fell, something else rose, the realization that in a world loud with noise, there is still a place for sincerity. That true love does not always need to be announced, sometimes it just needs to be witnessed for those who saw it. The moment lingers. Not as gossip, but as a feeling, that the simple act of loving someone silently, faithfully, might still mean something. And so, their story continues, not in trending hashtags or orchestrated spectacles, but in stolen glances, quiet acts of care, and a tear that reminded a nation that real love, the kind that asks for nothing in return, still exists. From that moment in Japan, their journey has unfolded like a slow, unbroken thread. On set, they are rarely apart during breaks, yet they never try to be the center of attention. Colleagues often say that they bring an unusual calm with them, like a safe harbor amid the storm of the entertainment industry. Mie Mie has a habit of carrying a small lunchbox filled with fruit or a warm drink for him. Sometimes, a staff member spots her quietly tucking a note into his coat pocket. These gestures may never trend, but for those lucky enough to witness them, they linger like poetry. Airports, too, have become unexpected stages for their quiet devotion. Yulong is always the one slightly behind, guiding her gently through the crowd, his hands steady at her back. Even surrounded by flashing cameras and fans shouting their names, they manage to exist in a bubble of their own. At press conferences, one might notice a brief glance shared across a crowded room. She answers a question with a smile, and his eyes soften just slightly, a language that speaks only to them. For fans, these moments are a lifeline. They collect and treasure them, as if piecing together an invisible scrapbook. The umbrella they shared in a rainstorm in Seoul, the way he instinctively pulled her close when photographers jostled too close, the way she quietly handed him a cup of tea backstage and whispered something that made him laugh. Industry insiders have said that after that tearful day in Japan, something shifted in Yulong. He no longer hides the emotions that once made him seem aloof. Those close to him speak of a man who now chooses to be more present, who values sincerity over everything else. Meanwhile, Mie Mie has remained unchanged, steady, grounded, and fiercely protective of their private world. She is the anchor to his waves. What makes their story so extraordinary is that it is, in fact, ordinary. It is built on habits, on trust, on the decision to protect something precious from the glare of public consumption. And in doing so, they have created a love that feels timeless. They are not an escape from reality. They are proof that, even within the most dazzling and fleeting industry, something real can take root and grow quietly, year after year. Perhaps that is why, as more letters arrive, more confessions from strangers whose lives have been touched by their quiet strength, they read every word. They keep them, not as trophies, but as reminders that, sometimes, just living honestly can change someone else's world. And so their story continues, in letters, in gestures, and in the spaces between words, showing everyone who watches that love, when true, does not need to shout to be heard. What makes this story resonate so deeply is that it belongs as much to those who watch as it does to the two people at its center. In Yulong and Mie Mie, audiences see something that feels increasingly rare. Two individuals who do not treat love as a currency. Their relationship has become a quiet rebellion against the industry's constant need for exposure. They have built something strong enough to exist outside the frame. When they leave a set, they leave as themselves, not as characters in an ongoing drama constructed for public consumption. People who work with them often recall the atmosphere they create. There is no chaos, no competition to dominate the spotlight. Instead, there is a kind of calm that follows them, as if they move at their own pace in a world that always seems to be rushing. This pace, unhurried, deliberate, is what allows moments to matter. A glance becomes a sentence. A gesture becomes a vow. Fans speak of watching their interactions as though they are watching something unfold in slow motion, every small act carrying more meaning than any scripted declaration could. Even after the moment in Japan, they did not address it publicly. There were no social media posts, no interviews dissecting what happened. The story survived not because they told it, but because it was witnessed and because people recognized the truth when they saw it, and so their influence grows, not by force, but by quiet accumulation. More than a love story, it has become a reminder that beneath the spectacle, there are still people who believe in listening before speaking, in staying instead of chasing, in feeling instead of performing. For those who have been swept along by the noise of modern life, the image of a single tear falling, and a gentle hand wiping it away, offers a reason to pause. It asks a simple question: what if love doesn't need to be big to be real?